back to my channel. My name is Abredzeba and I'm here to take you through yet another maths tutorial. Today I'm looking at the GCSE topic of perimeter and area. Now it doesn't matter whether or not you're doing foundation tier or whether you're doing higher tier. This video will help you understand the basics, and then we're going to look at some of the extension tasks for those of you who are looking at the higher tier paper. So let's get started. What are some of the fundamental things we need to know about when we're dealing with perimeter and area? Well, firstly, this concept of length. Now, what is length? Length is simply the distance between two individual points. So when we can measure between two individual points, we have got what is known as a length, and we have got units for length. Pause the video now and see if you can write down a list of all of the units of length you can think of. It's important to make sure that you don't mix up your lists, so these are the measurements that you should have. Right, so now we have understood and we've gone over the different types of units for length. Let's ask ourselves this question: how do we calculate a perimeter with that knowledge? Well, quite simply, the definition of perimeter is the distance around the edge of a two-dimensional shape. A small recap here. If you're not sure about a two-dimensional shape, you can check out my previous video on 2D and 3D shapes. But for now, a two-dimensional shape is a flat shape. Whether it's got straight sides or curved sides, a two-dimensional shape is flat. So, how then would I calculate the perimeter of a rectangle? Well, firstly, I need to know the dimensions of the rectangle. So what do the lengths of the sides measure? Take this rectangle, for instance. I can see that I have got 3 centimeters and I've got 5 centimeters. Now, the first thing I need to do is label up the lengths of the remaining sides. Based on my understanding of the properties of a rectangle, I know that this side is going to be the same length as that side, and this side is going to be the same length as that side. So if the perimeter of a rectangle is the sum of all of the sides together, i.e. the distance around the edge, the perimeter for this rectangle is 16 centimeters. Now have a go at some examples of these simple shapes. Okay, now it's time to check your answers. Now, hopefully you got those right. If you didn't, go back, pause the video, check your answers against mine and see where you might have gone wrong. So let's take a look at some more complex shapes. Now, I've given you 3 examples of more complex shapes. I've labelled up some of the lengths of these shapes, and I would like you to pause the video now to fill in the blanks and work out their perimeters. Now, hopefully you got these answers. Now, there's one particular two-dimensional shape that calculating the perimeter is not as simple as getting out a ruler, and that is the circle. Now, the circle's got 2 formulas that you need to be aware of. In this half of the video, we're going to focus on the formula for the circumference. Now, let's have a look at this formula. Now, the formula for the circumference is pi times by the diameter. Now, what is the diameter? Well, the diameter is the distance across the whole of the circle going through the center, like here. So you can expect in questions to do with the perimeter of a circle that they would give you either the diameter, which is the full distance across, or half of the diameter, which is called the radius. So we have the diameter and we have the radius. The radius is half of the diameter, and we can use that value to be able to calculate the circumference of the circle with this funny symbol here called pi. Now, pi is not unique to just circles, but it helps us calculate our distances and our areas based on the curvature of the surface of a circle. So, with this background information now, have a go at calculating the perimeter or the circumference of these circles. Now it's time to check your answers. Now, if you didn't get some of those right, make sure you go back and pause the video, check your answers against mine to see where you went wrong. So, quick recap. We've looked at length, we've looked at the perimeter of simple shapes, and we've looked at the perimeter of complex shapes, including the perimeter of a circle, otherwise known as a circumference. It's now time to take a quick break and let's come back and talk about area. The follow-up video to this, Area and Perimeter Part 2, covers all details on how to calculate the area of simple shapes, complex shapes, and circles.